Hello, 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 beautiful people. How's everybody doing on this magnificent Tuesday? Yana Kasperczak coming into you live from Ontario. And my soul's purpose is to help you get your shit together so you can break free from that mental prison you find yourself in and live the life you can be proud of and love and be excited to wake up to every single day and not wait to go to the dreamland every single day so that we can escape the only world that is real or not real, whichever way you look at it. So today on Tuesdays I do story time with myself, Yana Kasperczak, and the reason for these live videos on my personal page is to bring knowledge and wisdom that we hoard in our group, in our Facebook group, Heal the Unicorn Spiritual Awakening for women. So if you want access to all of this type of information and videos, then I invite you to go and join the group and check that out and explore everything for yourself in there. Let me just move this candle out of the way so I don't get burnt by it. Okay, and so that way I can see it as well. So today I wanted to talk about the story of many women, and it is a story of no respect for herself, for yourself. And what is that? What does that look like? What does that sound like? What does that feel like? What it feels like is, this is where we can start. What does disrespecting yourself feels like? It feels like a train wreck. It feels like you are denying yourself something. It feels like discomfort and suffering in the heart, and this sense of unworthiness. So what does that look like when you're not respecting yourself? So this is how it comes across in our lives when we're not respecting ourselves. When we say we're going to do something, we don't do it. When we say we're going to do something for other people, we will go and do it. We'll put other people first and not ourselves. We will say we're going to it also is, that's why I put hashtag discipline in there as well, because discipline is a big part of respect for yourself. When you say you're going to do something, you need to be disciplined enough to go and do it. When you say you're going to, and this is where understanding the difference when you say you're going to go and do something versus complete it. Because when you intention behind it, right? Understanding what your intention is, and the intention is to actually do it, or is your intention to complete it? And this is where the fine line for many people is, where they say they're going to do something, but their intention is to do it and not complete it. Whereas others will say, I want to complete this, and their intention is to do it but not actually complete it, or vice versa. So clarity is going to be something that's going to help you with whatever it is that you're doing. So clarifying what is it that you want to do and why do you want to do it, and catching any different ways that you are disrespecting yourself and disrespecting who you are and who you're being. So the very loud way that we can all tell when we are disrespecting ourselves or not respecting ourselves is when you're not being true to who you are. When you are putting on a mask to be someone for someone else. When you are not being authentic. When you are not speaking your truth. When you say yes when you really want to say no, with every part of your being, with every part of your existence. When you deny yourself playing in your curiosities, when you deny yourself exploring who you are, that is you not respecting yourself. That is you putting everything and everyone else first. Yes, granted, I know most of you have children, and as do I, and that can get in the way of you doing some things. But if we're all being honest, this is also comes respecting yourself. If you're being honest with yourself, and if you respect yourself enough, you will be honest with yourself. And when it comes to whatever it is that you want to have or experience in your life, using other things or other people as excuses for you not to, or not to do, or using them as an excuse to say no to someone, or using something, as an excuse to not do something, that is you also not only disrespecting the other person, but disrespecting yourself and your authenticity. The more you lie, a lie is also when you say no and you really want to say yes, or when you say yes and you really want to say no, that's still a lie. And it does not feel good, and you carry that with you for the rest of the day. Or you might even remember the next day and the next day. And what happens is, in those instances, is something as small as a lie. We all lie once in a while, right? But there are good lies and then there are bad lies. And you know the difference. When someone looks run down and they feel like crap, but they're asking you how they look, you don't want to be as brutally honest as you think you should be, but you can be gentle about it and let them know that they look great, but we can do a little this, or let me help with this. You can help and support them. You don't have to lie about it, right? And what happens with these lies? So all of our kids lie. And we sometimes catch our kids in the lie, and sometimes we don't, which means that if we don't catch them in the lie, that means they become a really good liar. Now, it is a great skill to have. It is. But it is not a good habit to get into for anyone, because it leads into a dark path. And the dark path is different for everyone. For some, it's like really, really dark. For others, it will be your lies will catch up with you. One way or another, they will catch up with you. All those little lies that you have told throughout your life, starting from a very young age, whether you remember what that lie was or not, it becomes part of you. And the way that I like to describe it is, we've all heard this phrase, she comes with a baggage, or he comes with a baggage, or people come with baggages. Now, what does baggage actually mean? Baggage means all those things, all those burdens that a person has subconsciously chosen to carry. Tell a little lie here, a little lie there, it eats at you. You carry that, like I said, if you're carrying it for the day and you're thinking about it, you are deepening and making that bag heavier. Every little thing that you have done wrong, not mostly by you, like when you've done wrong things to yourself, when you have lied to yourself, when you have beat yourself up for not saying no when you wanted to say no and saying yes, those things accumulate as well. And one day you might find yourself unable to move forward because these bags weigh on you so heavily that you can no longer carry them, and you are forced to deeply rest. And what I call deeply resting, most people call depression. And I've experienced that deep rest myself, and I had to open the bags and start looking through these bags and making it right by people when I have made the wrongs, and going back into even my childhood where I was not a very nice sister to my sister. Being an older sister, most of you and I would describe myself as a bully. I was a bully to my sister. I was a bully to some kids back in Russia as well. But when we came here to Canada, being 13 years old and not knowing anyone and knowing anything and having to go get a job right away because I wanted to, not only to help my parents, but to have the things that I wanted to have. Because now we're in this country where you look around and there's stores, there's things that you can have and buy. Where I come from a tiny little town where we would only have the market, and that was limited to what people would bring in to buy the things I wanted to buy. And so in order for me to have the things I wanted to have, I needed to put in my time and the work into it. So let me see what else. Let me open my my internets. Where is it? So I can see. Okay, there we go. I don't know if you guys can hear the music in the background. I hope not, because if you can, that actually, you know what? I might mute lower it so that way it's only for me. Because if you can hear the music, this book of faces is not gonna like it, and will block it out. So hopefully you can't. Okay. So I just like to have my stuff open. Okay, so now we're talking about respect. So what do you do when you find yourself in this place where you have lost who you are, you have lost who you are, what you want, what you don't want, and the things that make you you, where you start to lose that sense of fulfillment that you once had as a kid, where you have lost that spark, that joy, that zest for life. And maybe you even find yourself snoozing your alarm every morning. That is one way that I can clearly tell when a person does not want to be there, does not want to be there for the day or for themselves. But they will get up and get the day started for other people in their life, but not so much so for themselves. And that is how you can start to see that that individual does not have very much respect for themselves, because if they did, they would be living an entirely different life. And that's why I bring in discipline into this, because we all can do very well when we have structure in our life, and not just structure, but more so discipline when it comes to structure. Many people believe that they want to have their whole entire day planned out from morning to night and knowing what they're going to do throughout the day. But that kind of regime does not work for everyone. It works for few, but for the rest of the population, we want to have the time to do nothing, to be bored, to just sit and ponder, or maybe we have other things that we want to do during that time, and just have time to breathe, and maybe even go for a walk and decide, this is what I want to do during this time. So when it comes to discipline, even though I mentioned structure, structure is a big part of you respecting yourself. And the reason for that is because when it comes to that structure of your day, what are you doing for yourself every single day to make sure that you are moving closer to the best version of yourself? Because this is, those of you who are struggling to find your purpose in life, I want to save that time for you. Hey, Debbie, thanks for hopping on here, beautiful. I want to save that time for you so you don't have to go in search of what your purpose is, because the purpose of all of us humans on here is to become the best version of ourselves and to know ourselves, one, to become the best version of ourselves and live our life authentically as who we are. That is our purpose. Each and every one of our purpose is. And when you're in this bubble of you, there are things that you're curious about, and there's things that you're passionate about, and your purpose is to pursue those things that you're curious about and that you're passionate about. Because curiosity is what gets you out of bed. It's what gets you excited. It is the fire and the gas in this engine of yours. That's what fuels you. When you're really curious about something, you get really excited and you're in it. You did that as a child. You were so curious about this world that you did not let your parents sleep. You would wake them up early and you resisted to go to bed. You fought every single night to go to bed early because your parents told you you need to sleep. And you're like, I don't need no sleep. I am too excited and curious about this life and I want to explore everything. This life is an adventure. And this is what respect is, where you love yourself so much and you respect yourself so much that you are just so focused on yourself, on your growth and development as a child. And then you get conditioned. You lose yourself, you lose your curiosities, you lose the fire, you lose the drive. You start losing a lot of things about yourself. And then you become the bully to yourself every single day. And not just once a day, but it becomes your way of living and breathing and existing. And then in that process, not only are you hurting yourself, you find yourself hurting other people you care and love about. Unconsciously, unintentionally, and you feel bad and horrible for it, but yet you struggle to get it together, to be better, to do better. And the reason for that is because you're thinking of everyone else. You're not thinking about yourself. You're not taking a moment to recognize that you are hurting right now and that you need the love and attention right now. And from yourself, not from other people, because many people depend on other people to make them feel good about themselves. But what happens if that supply is cut and you no longer have that energy supply coming in? Then what happens? Then what do? Then you find yourself feeling lost, confused, stressed, anxious, in fear, feeling and thinking that this is it. There's no one else for me. I am alone. I'm lonely. Nobody gets me. Nobody hears me. Nobody loves me, because they are a nobody, but you are somebody. Everybody outside of you is a nobody until they are somebody. And the word codependent comes to mind as well. And this codependency on other people as a lifeline, as the supply for you to feel happiness, supply for you to feel joy, where you're looking for that external validation, and you know it's not serving you. You know it's not helping you. And you also know exactly what you need to do about it. The videos that you listen to, the podcasts that you listen to or watch are there to just remind you of the things that you already know. This video right here that you're listening to or watching is just a reminder for you to bring up the very things that you already know within yourself. You know what you need. You know what you have to do. The only thing that you need is that motivation. And motivation is fleeting. It is temporary. It's not going to be here every single day. And that is where the discipline comes in. Are you disciplined enough to show up for yourself every single day? Are you disciplined enough to not snooze that alarm, to wake up the moment that our alarm goes off? Are you disciplined enough to stick to the food that you said you're going to eat and eat that food and not go and have more snacks because you're feeling snacky or you're feeling hungry? Are you disciplined enough to show up for yourself? Are you disciplined enough to not be late to your appointments? Just to name a few disciplines. And discipline is something that we do every single day or not do. And how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you are, it's either you're disciplined or you're not. That's what that really means. If you are disciplined in one area, you're going to be disciplined in all the areas of your life. And because it seeps through every part of your life, whether you like it or not. It really does. Rebecca says, oh, hi, Rebecca. Hi, have you been on long? I requested notification and did not get it. No, I hopped on. You were on for 5 minutes. You commented when I was already 5 minutes on the live at that point. And the topic is why you have no respect for yourself, yet you believe you do. Which brings me to those of you that you believe that you have respect for yourself, like I did for such a long period of my life, where I know naive is the word that many people would understand what I'm talking about, is where we're living life and putting a silver lining on everything. That's the best way to describe it. Where anything that happens, I would turn that around and manipulate it in a way. That's level 3. Manipulation happens at level 3, when I would manipulate my experience to benefit me. And as great as this energy level is, and this approach is, it is not a healthy approach, because by manipulating the truth or manipulating what I have experienced in a way to make me feel better, I am not seeing the truth and I'm not learning from that. What happens is it becomes one of those things that goes into the bag, into the baggage that I would carry through life. And then later on, as the awakening happens or takes place, where all of this stuff that we suppress comes up and we're forced to deal with it, is when we get to deal with it. And learning how certain things benefit us and certain things don't benefit us, that there's advantages and disadvantages to every single thing that we do and don't do. Choosing, right? Just because, like I said, everything has advantages and everything has disadvantages. Just because this one thing has more disadvantages than advantages does not mean you shouldn't try it. Because for you, it might be something that is more in a realm of has the advantages than disadvantages. But it's something that only you can figure out. Only you can do. And so with that, and why you have no respect for yourself, yet you believe you do. So we believe that we respect ourselves. The silver lining. So this is one of the ways that I used to believe that I respected myself, and I put myself first when I would do the whole silver lining of saying yes to something when I really, really wanted to say no. I would talk myself into saying yes and then actually doing it, or sometimes not doing it. And that kind of stuff, little by little, it becomes a habit of saying yes to others. And because we all have 24 hours in a day, and we got to split that time with everyone that we share our existence with, that if we're finding ourselves, like I did, saying yes to everything and to everyone, I was left with no time for myself. And which was a benefit to me in the long run, because I found myself deeply resting. Like I mentioned earlier, going through depression, that's deeply resting. When the body and the mind and the spirit and the soul can no longer take it, can no longer take me being unauthentic, being someone I am not, where it forced me to look within, because the answers are not outside. The answers are never outside of us. They're always on the inside. So when we are forced to look within, and we stop resisting looking within, because the resistance is part of the process as well. You resist long enough that the brokenness takes place, and you're forced to look within. And even then, when you're broken, you still resist looking within. And then later, you resist doing the work. And then later, you resist saying yes versus saying no, right? You actually learn to speak your truth. So how do you stop the cycle of disrespect for yourself? Is by working on yourself, is by figuring out what is it that you really want, and then why do you want it, and then doing the work. Little itty bitty steps every day. If somebody gives you a whole entire pizza to eat, and they tell you you have to eat this whole entire pizza, and let's say it's like this massive pizza like that, and you have to eat it all by yourself. First of all, the first slice is going to taste great. The second slice won't be as good. And then the last slice will probably taste like cardboard because you wouldn't want to eat it. But you can't sit down and eat the whole entire pizza in one sitting. You can't. You gotta keep coming back to this pizza. Your life is like a pizza. Now, when it comes to certain things that you're doing in your life, I know some of you are decluttering and organizing your spaces, which is amazing. The stuff that does to your mind is amazing. I am already hearing this healthy habit seeping through. So it's like this. When you decide that the one area in your life that you want to focus on, and you focus on that one area of your life every single day versus 5 different areas of your life, and you want to focus on those 5 different areas of your life, how fast do you think you will get to where you want to get to with focusing on 1 versus 5? I'll give you an example. Let's say you have a forest in your backyard, and you want to clean up that forest, and you want to have this open, vast space in your backyard so you can do somersaults and you can do whatever you want. Or maybe you want to put a pool in the backyard, right? So in order for you to have that clean space in your backyard, you got to get rid of all those trees. Now you have an option to go and hit one tree 5 times a day. You hit one tree 5 times a day, or you go to the backyard and you hit 5 trees, 1 hit each tree. How quickly do you think you're going to have a clean backyard with no trees when you take the approach of focusing on that 1 tree versus focusing on the 5 trees? That's the difference. And that, my friends, is what is referred to as discipline, commitment, and laser focus. And that is also respect, where you respect yourself enough to focus on that one specific thing, organizing cluttering as an example, and the ripple effect that has into your everyday life and into who you are, because you're building a habit of discipline, consistency, and a habit of keeping spaces clean and organized, and a habit of something you're teaching your kids a lot, right? Instead of making piles of things that you're going to be dealing with later, you deal with them right away. A habit of completion, just to name a few that you're practicing in that moment. So even though it might appear that you're focusing on this one specific thing that you're doing, you're actually tackling so much more in that one thing that you're doing. Because clutter, physical clutter, equals mental clutter. Another way to look at it is like this. And this is why people who live a minimalist lifestyle, they feel much, much lighter. Your subconscious mind sees everything, and it takes in every single thing. I'll give you an example. When you're in a room right now, just look around at all the things that you have in your room, in your space. Like, I have actually a ton of things in this office, because it's not just the office, it's also my my storage area over there. And my battery's gonna die soon, so I'm gonna wrap this up. And I got a lot of other things. I have my sacred spaces here. So your subconscious mind knows every single thing that you have. And you feel a sense of responsibility to all of these things that you have. Every single pen that you have, your subconscious mind has a checklist for it. Now, you just looked in one room, all these things that you have. Now, what about your whole entire house? Can you imagine the amount of space that all of those physical objects take in your mind? And when you start cleaning up those spaces, and especially if they're cluttered, if they're not in place, if they're not in order, because in your mind there's a vision that you have of what order looks and feels like. So if it's not in order, it's going to cause you discomfort. It's going to cause you to feel less than you are, because you should, right? The should, the could start to come through. You should have your spaces clean and organized. You shouldn't be a messy person, but yet you are. And the reason for that is because there's only so much you can feel responsible for. Now you add kids on top of that, you add pets on top of that, you add yourself, your partner, your friends, all of these things. That's why your mind does not shut off. It keeps going and going and going, like that Energizer Bunny commercial. But when you start cleaning up the spaces, you're also, another way to, like, you're cleaning up the energy of that space and those objects. So if you have books, for example, and you haven't touched those books for a while, taking the books off the shelf and just really just touching them or tapping them, it cleans up the energy of those books and that space where they are. If you have piles of mess, and you know there's piles of mess that someone can have, and then there's piles of organized mess, right? So for example, laundry is a great example for that one. It might look like it's mess, but it's temporary mess. It's not permanent. And technically everything is temporary. So when you start putting all of those things in order and in place, you start to feel lighter, and you start getting rid of things, you feel even more lighter. And it frees up your mind, where you're able to just almost like take a breath that's deeper than normal. You feel taller, you feel slimmer, you feel lighter, you feel like maybe you're on a cloud when you're getting shit done, when you are showing up for yourself every single day because you love and you respect yourself enough to do that. And then Debbie said, we solve puzzles one piece at a time. That's exactly what life is. It's a really, really big puzzle piece that you're trying to solve when you don't even see the image and the actual puzzle piece itself. And the only way that you start to see the image on the puzzle piece is when you take that puzzle piece and you sit with it long enough and you start putting it into place, and then the image starts to appear. That's how life is, which means that that image starts to appear for you when you are in it, when you're doing it, when you're moving forward. Not when you're sitting and fantasizing about it, when you're actually doing it, when you're following that curiosity and exploring in it and playing in it and that curiosity. That is when you start to see that color appear on that puzzle piece that's called life, and it starts to make sense. Debbie says, I've been cleaning as I cook and craft. How does that feel? Cooking and craft. How does that go together? I'm very curious now. Or maybe cooking is your craft and you're crafting in there. Let's see what else. I think that pretty much would be it. Let me actually take a peek at this. Just thinking maybe I'll give you a little tool to walk away with from our iPad book. Which one? I think maybe this one. Just a little bit. Not the whole entire version, but just a little bit. I want you to think of the current situation that you are dealing with, that is on your mind, that you perhaps struggle to see what you can get out of it, or you struggle to start approaching or dealing with. Like really the current pain, the current struggle that you're dealing with. And then the next thing I want you to do is I want you to list what are the benefits of making the change in that area. So think of the one area, the current block that you're dealing with, the current struggle, the current suffering that you're experiencing, and list what the benefits would be for making that change. Now, you can do this exercise a little bit later, or you can do it as now, as you're going through it. And then the next thing I want you to do is I want you to think about the current situation that you're in, what you're dealing with, what you're going through. How is it benefiting you right now? What do you get out of it right now? So Debbie says procrastinating. Beautiful. That one. That's my favorite one. So how is procrastinating benefiting you? Because it is. If it wasn't benefiting you, you wouldn't be doing it. And then the last thing I want you to do is identify what do you have to sacrifice in order for you to get those benefits that you listed before. Talking about procrastination. So identifying that the current pain, the current block, the current struggle and suffering is procrastinating. Great. Now, what would be the benefits of you not procrastinating anymore? What would you get out of the opposite of being disciplined, getting things done? What do you get out of that? Third is, how is this procrastination benefiting you? Because it is, right? Debbie says, gives me time to think. Perfect. I would say procrastinating for me allows me to get other things done. Because I've learned to use procrastination to my advantage for the most part, whereas other times it's also advantage where it gives you time to think. That is a massive advantage. Meditation can be a way to procrastinate. I like to call it procrastinating on purpose, where having a list of things that you want to do but you don't want to do them, and often we procrastinate on doing the things that we are really scared of doing and do other things. And then the fourth thing is, what do you have to sacrifice? What do you have to, what is the cost of you not having procrastination anymore, right? To overcome it in order for you to have that change take place of getting things done. And then Debbie says, getting things done so I can relax. So procrastinating gives you time to think, which some people might consider and think of it as procrastinating gives you time to relax. But there is a difference between procrastinating and relaxing. Even though they might look or seem similar, they're not. because these are mental states. They're mental states, they're mindsets. We can also procrastinate and feel relaxed because we understand what the purpose of this current procrastination, because that is what I refer to as procrastinate on purpose. So that's the little exercise that I want to leave you guys with, and hopefully this helps. You can apply this to anything that you are dealing with in your life, whether it's procrastination, to help you see that it is not all bad, because more often than not, we think of our current state, our current experience, as this is the worst thing ever because of the shoulds and the coulds of others that we have received throughout our lifetime. And when we sit with it and understand that right now, for example, it might be, this is the very thing that I need, that I want to experience because I choose to. So if you're not feeling better about procrastinating, so what can you do to shift it? It might be get something little done so you feel a little sense of accomplishment, or it might be, no, you know what, it's not worth procrastinating because I am really just denying myself being my true self. So it really comes down to which one is more painful, procrastinating or getting that thing done. And if getting that thing done is more painful than procrastinating, then stay here until this becomes more painful, and then you'll get it done like this, without hesitation. Everything has its time, and allowing ourselves time to be ready to start, because starting is the hardest part. Whatever it is that we procrastinate on, it's the starting of that thing that we're doing. That's the scariest of it all. But once we start, we always realize, what was I scared of? Ugh, that was nothing. So other than that, that is all that I have for you guys for today. Thank you, ladies, for being on here with me. Thank you, Debbie and Rebecca, for commenting. I truly appreciate the interaction, and especially giving a little bit more of context of what you guys are going through, because all of us are dealing with the same things. Procrastination is something that every single human being has access to and deals with, whether it's on permanent basis as it feels, or temporary, or they got their shit together when it comes to procrastinating, or they're somewhere in between. And I just want to take a moment to invite you all to our podcast tomorrow. We have the podcast at 1:30 Eastern Time in the Facebook group Heal the Unicorn Spiritual Awakening for Women, where Bethany and I go live on a new topic every single week. And while we're here, let me pull up the topic for tomorrow so you guys know exactly if it is something that you're interested or not. The role of partner and spouse support for spiritual women. Yeah, that's what we have for you guys for tomorrow, and that is going to be quite an interesting topic as well. But other than that, I will see you all tomorrow. And Rebecca says I will battle that dragon, so go and battle that dragon, because it feels amazing when you conquer that dragon and you can tell everyone, I did it. And you get to carry that armor for yourself, even though most people won't get it, won't understand, because they have their own dragons and demons they battle. But you get to have that for yourself and share it with those that get it. And others, they're not worth it. That's it. Other than that, until I see you guys all tomorrow or next week, back here live, 11:30-ish Eastern Time, for another story time with moi, Yana Kasperczak. Bye, guys. Until then.